That would be the way it goes.
No, it's like me and another guy run.
Yeah.
If you really want to own, you know what I mean? Because that's what you make.
We go on the side.
I'm sure Charlie is compensated well, but he's on the salary.
We'll talk about it.
Michelle, for a second, the Franklin Street line, I thought you were gonna put down like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, like the cost of it, just because the numbers in, it's like 123, 510.
So.
I was looking at it, I was like, oh,
I
she's
never
just
had a
putting
Zoom or
nonsense now.
Brainstorm.
Because by that point, I was like, okay, that's a lot of money, that's a lot of money, that's a lot of money. Now we're just playing around 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Next thing's gonna cost 17. It's crazy.
Yeah. Now, I believe those are the numbers without any grant funding.
Huh?
Yeah, we never did.
Yeah, I mean, some of these were, you know,
So
like the
Aaron,
Keller Street line, either gonna get
if you
grant
want
or
to push
it's
in,
couldn't wait for a
be on
grant.
video,
It's not.
you're more than welcome.
True.
Michelle, you heard, if you want to swoosh next to Monica, we spread you out because there's less people.
Carol coming?
I didn't, she came at like 4:30ish to pick up stuff, so I'm sure she's gonna be back, but.
I have a feeling it's only gonna be us in the room anyway, so. Since nobody's here yet. So, I don't really know.
Yeah, not too many people jump up on the stage of the budget meeting.
And it's raining.
I was gonna say,
Yeah.
and it's raining
It's
and
nasty.
it's dreary.
Yeah, most of the time Scott's here because they're out for their nightly walk.
What was that?
Usually. I mean, they may have it in mind that they're gonna walk over here and come to
And
the
spend
meeting.
2
then walk
hours.
home. Yeah.
Or more. Okay. There's lost track.
That's okay, we'll plan.
Yeah,
I
that
know.
too.
It's gonna be over by 8:30.
Oh, Eagles?
I think it starts early, doesn't
It's all in your
They have
hands.
a late game tonight. There's 2 games. One starts at 7 something, the other starts at 8. One here.
Yeah,
thought they
8:25
were the
or
early
something
one.
weird
Weren't
like
they
that.
the early one?
They're late.
If it starts at 7, set your alarm for 7:15.
I like my phone at home, so that's when the game's on, all my friends are texting. And I
Yes.
wanna,
Constant. Group text.
You know, it used to be you could miss the game and just tape it and you wouldn't go everywhere and see it everywhere, but now it's hard to stay away from it.
I didn't open up at 10:15.
Oh,
wow.
like Brad said. We only had 2.
I thought my husband said 7, so.
Yeah, I didn't know we even got that.
alright.
I think he's saying, let's get his thing
No,
going.
that's what I thought, 'cause
That's all,
Thank
that's alright.
Did you say, let's get this show on the road?
Get her done.
Alright, I mean, at this point, I guess we don't have to sit here for another minute. We'll call the meeting to order. Pledge to the flag, please.
I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Alright. Looks like we got
Carol.
Carol, okay. Just in time, Carol.
And you.
Chase, can you take roll call?
Ms. Cook? Roll call, Ms. Cook?
Here.
Ms. Falcone? Here. Ms. Haslett?
Here.
Ms. Kunkel?
Here.
Mr. Miller?
Here.
Mr. Kolinsky?
Here.
Mr. Stowe?
Here.
Mrs. Stowe?
Here. 6:57.
We did start it,
Because
all right, so the first thing up, the minimum municipal obligation for pensions for 2024. Need to just take a look at that and should have it all there in front of you.
Just like last year, we had to calculate it based on the form that was given to us by our pension administrator, PMRS, and what we have to plug in usually is an approximation of what the payrolls will be through the end of 2023.
Does anybody have any questions?
I have a question on, so do they give us this number to calculate it by, the percentage there? that we
The
have to
PMRS determined normal cost expresses the decimal, yes, and that's what they screwed up last year, and we had to revise it later. Hopefully, this is it.
All right, so just so I understand it,
Sure.
it's been a year. So the amount that we actually invest into that account is what number?
We put in 28,990 in 2024 based on what people are paid and what we expect them to
Right,
get
and
paid next
that
year.
might be a little different if they do overtime, right? Is overtime included, that then their hourly rate goes up and therefore,
This is actual payrolls through 9/17 pay through September 17th, 2023. So there could have been some OT already on some people's because of water line breaks
yeah,
or
sure, okay,
whatever.
thank you.
Sure.
If there's no other questions, we're just looking for a motion to approve.
I'll make that motion.
I second it.
All in favor?
Alright,
Hello.
That's public, right?
Yeah,
Did you sign in, Mary Ellen?
I would, but I don't have a pen.
Oh,
Sorry for bothering.
All right, moving on to reviewing proposals for auditing services for the fiscal year of 2023.
So we just got these, so I didn't look at them either until right now. We have one here from Fry and Company. Give their background, let me just see what improvement information. Sorry, I didn't know these came.
they were due at 10.
Yeah, so.
Yeah, I didn't see them when you came in.
When does this,
November council is slated to approve one, so you have time to look at them. You don't have to approve them tonight, it's just.
do we want to table this then until
Sure,
the
I was
first
just gonna
October meeting?
Maybe
Yeah, I understand completely.
Maybe
came
just
in today,
state
so.
who
I came, yeah, it
Who the
wasn't
two
here all
are.
weekend when I came to look at them.
Fry and Company, they are audit of Borough of Topton and including the annual DCED report, pricing, their 2023 pricing was 18,000. In here, under optionals, they've got for 2024, 18,900 and 19,800. Don't have what all their optionals are here.
Sure.
Then auditor of tax collector, their 2023 pricing was 4,500. Optional for 2024, 47.25 and 49.50. Then they have hourly billing prices as well. The other is Zelenkowski Axelrod.
I'm not even gonna try and spell that.
I found the name of another one. I don't know off the top of my head. Check, cause I didn't know the job. So of course, we have to read their details all, blah, 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 blah. Cost proposal. 2024. Borough audit 15,700. Tax collector 3,100. Total 18,800. They also list their hourly rates. They list it by their staff designation, partner manager, senior staff.
Is this the type of thing where we're required to take the lowest bid?
It's more of a professional nature, if you can base it on, their qualifications,
Which
in
they've got.
combination with their pricing,
Okay.
not just solely on price, and you can substantiate that, yes.
Alright.
Because it's kind of apples to oranges, if the second company didn't give the second year, third year. But you can just base it on what was required in the RFP, and that's it.
All right, so we'll look over it more between now and October, and then.
Yep.
Yes, yes, it's done.
Thanks, Monica.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you. All right, the next thing would be the water and sewer account balance, amount to require termination of service. Discussion decision. This was something that we brought up in email, so everybody should.
Yeah, I sent everyone an email earlier so we could make this a quick decision. Before I do that real quick, just for an FYI, right now, there are 31 unpaid accounts. 13 accounts with unpaid finance charge and or late fee, 5 payment plans, and 1 terminated account. Just so everybody kind of knows where we stand, but, so is everyone okay with what I'm recommending, that we only terminate if the underlying water and sewer bill is not paid?
Yes.
Yes, yes. Everybody, yes?
You're excluding just finance charges
Correct.
being.
Right,
Yes.
yes. The finance charge itself doesn't trigger the shut off.
Right,
Or late rent,
Or
so
late.
those are 2 different things.
Right, yeah.
yes.
Michelle, one thing I wanted to ask you, so if somebody pays their bill, but we get it late, like say the day after, and then, so they're obviously late, they should be charged a late fee.
Yeah, they are.
But I'm questioning whether they should pay a finance charge, because they actually have given us the money for the bill, we're not floating them for a time period, that maybe the finance charge shouldn't apply, because they've paid the actual bill itself. They just paid it late, so they
The only
get.
thing is the finance charge is triggered when we issue the late notice, which is the day after it's due. So if the payment isn't here, when they trigger the late notice, the finance charge is applied.
We floated them for 30 days already, after we print the bill, 30 days, then the late.
Right, but the late fee is really not because of that 30 days, because everyone can pay it up until that one day. Once we get to that day after, now we're charging them the amount of a finance charge that is on no balance, because they did pay the bill, they just paid it late. So that's what I was wondering, if it was fair for us to charge a finance charge when they did pay the bill, it just got here late because they were tardy or for whatever reason.
It's still late. though.
It is late, but we're
Because they
not,
already had 30 days to pay it prior to that.
I
That's how
understand
you're
that.
looking at that, correct?
But
Yes.
everybody had that time, and they paid it the day earlier.
Well,
Just a
that's still
question.
on time.
Just a question I have, because the reason we're charging them is because they're not paying us at all, and now we're floating that balance until we get into another 30-day period, which is why we're putting finance charge on it. But for the people that did pay and just got here late,
What do you consider late? 1 day, 2 days,
Yeah.
3 days? Where do you cut it off?
well, I'm
Yeah,
saying.
that's why.
You gotta keep it equal across from.
Well, yeah, so I'm
Right.
saying, like, if it came a day late, because they mailed it and it got here and it came here a day late, they're paying their bill, they just paid it late. But we're not now they just are gonna have a balance of a late charge on their account.
Yeah, but then we have to, then it becomes more of a judgment call on where we're drawing the line, you know, 1 day late, we're not gonna charge you with it, 10 days late, we are, because we have been floating it for 10 days
Well,
or
I'd
20
say
days.
one
you
day
know.
late, if it missed the mail by a day.
I think sometimes we're trying to make these decisions and with like too much community mind involved. Like, I wanna be nice to my neighbors too, but we're also working to protect those of our community who are routinely not paying their bills. And, you know, I mean, most of us, you pay on time, you don't have to think about any of these things.
Well, right, I always pay on time, so I never have to think about these things, so.
Right, you know, that's what I mean, you know,
I'm just saying that the person that sends your bill and it gets here, they obviously send it, and if for whatever reason it was a day late, if we would not, I'm just putting it out there.
Yeah,
Because
There's
we-
always a
it's
Dropbox.
always good to
There's
explore
always
these
a
things.
Dropbox, there's always a phone call if there was some extraordinary circumstance as to the reason.
Yeah, I'm sure
I
the
mean,
office is pretty fair about
Right,
it, I mean,
yes.
and you said
So-
that Trinda uses her judgment, I
Mhm.
trust that.
Ethan, you used an important word, I think, which was routinely. Is that something we should be factoring in?
I think we're getting complicated on this more and more and more and digging a hole when, like I said, we're talking about the people who aren't paying their bills. I'm getting a little tired standing up for them, I suppose. is where I'm getting to.
Right,
People that don't
nine
pay their
times out
bills
of-
should be getting everything sent them, they should be getting the finance charge that.
Right, but I mean, you know, I'm lumping everybody, you're not paying your bill, you're paying your bill late, you're not being responsible with this, and, you know, we keep trying to figure out ways to make it easier for them, instead of just saying, just pay your bill on time, and then you don't have to think about it.
And it just gets abused and abused.
Nine out of 10 times that somebody complains about, the fact that they're getting these late charges, or why isn't there a grace period, or whatever, it's a habitual thing. Almost every time.
Habitual
Of the
people,
ones that
they
she,
need to-
yeah, of the ones that she has sent me, that she sent me the history, it's been habitual. So, you know, the thing is to try to make this as black and white and as easy for the office to do. And if we keep moving that number around, this way, when they get to the day after, this is what you get. Now you get the $10 late charge and 1.5% interest. And, you know, that's the cutoff. And you get 30 days. If you can't get the payment here in 30 days, I mean, there's
Do we
6
have a
months.
due date on there?
On the bill, yes.
We
And
have,
it's the day
And there's a
after. that
and
they
we have
do
an
it.
amount by the due date and a late amount,
Correct.
and we made it, we
It's
revised.
I mean, you know, I've screwed up things too, and paid some bills late in my life and
Yes.
stuff like that, and when I do, they say, oh, well, there's a fee and there's this, and I'm like, alright, that's what
Right.
happens when I pay my bill late, you know, and,
Right, but you still, I don't know, it was an honest mistake for whatever reason.
sure,
But you still, I'm
but
sorry,
I
but
still
you're
ended up paying the
obligated.
$20 or
Pick up the
whatever,
phone
you
and
know.
call and say, hey, anything you can do, it's either gonna be a yes or a no,
Yeah.
but everybody can ask, they just need to advocate for themselves now, because, right, it's on there, been that way.
And again, these things are always living documents, and, you know, who knows where we go in the future to see where these things turn into, you know, but I think for the time being, let's just stick to the, you know, making the amendment of, the late fee itself or the finance charge not triggering a shut-off.
Right.
Does anybody wanna make that motion?
I'll make that motion.
A second.
All in favor?
Alright.
Aye. And again, I don't think we should necessarily just toss things out and say never again, but,
Well, let's see how it goes.
13 accounts that just have a
It seems
finance
like we're all
charge.
sharing
It's
these.
the same thing.
yeah.
And those people, those people should be penalized because they're not responsible. I'm thinking of the person like,
But you know, the thing is, it's like, let's say we both
Who was trying to-
don't pay on time.
Is that
Where
still
do you
the
cut that
account? Is that
then
still the
as
account?
far as?
Or,
Well,
wait,
you
over
know
there.
what, we really like
They did, like,
playing
reordinance and
troublemaker,
It wasn't
we don't
official.
wanna do it for her, we wanna do it for her.
Right, you know, I think she's right, you could be
Well, no.
seen as, you know, hey, you're picking on me.
well, no,
Yeah,
that's why I
yeah,
was saying,
you know, they
like,
could.
the day
I don't
after
know.
they pay the bill,
I'm thinking it is.
no finance charge.
I get what you're saying, and it does make a lot of
Yeah,
sense, but.
it is
I think
to
it's in
compensate
collection, if
us
I'm not
for
mistaken.
our office staff's time. The finance charges, because we're floating these people with a balance, and if they paid that balance, that's my.
Yeah, I see what
the
you're
reason I
saying.
brought it up, that's all, I just, you know, I think we should see how it goes.
All right, moving on, the rest of the whole night basically is just utilities for, well, there's a couple other things, but, financial, fiscal year to 2024.
All right, so everybody has the capital planning list. Sewer should be pretty straightforward, because there's, knock on wood, not very much on the list at the moment. The truck is something we have to address because it will not pass inspection in January. I know Stacy has had, is it Alex that's looking? Okay, looking to see if maybe there's something available on municipal that we could, that doesn't have to be brand new, but, I think we're probably looking at a minimum of 40, because even if we buy it off municipal, it's gonna have to get a plow and, you know, all the other stuff to make it fit to what we need. Does anyone have any comment on that question about that?
What size truck is that? Is that 250? I mean, is it a half, is it a quarter
I have to
ton?
look.
Half ton, what size
Probably
truck?
350.
350?
Probably.
For plowing?
Yeah, I just
Yeah,
wonder
it's
if we
probably
can use the
easier.
same plow,
Is there
as long as the plow hook.
does everything need to be a truck? That's kind of where I'm going with this, like, if There's a,
His, yes.
okay,
Cause he's by himself
Right.
2 days, and over the weekends,
I guess what I'm saying is.
he even wants a lift. I mean, he already has a plow that hopefully would fit a new truck or
Right.
a used truck, but he wants a lift because the Jetter is an independent vehicle. The pump or vac or whatever they use takes 2 people to lift. He can't do it by
Sure.
himself when
You
he's
say
by
a
himself
lift,
2 days.
what do you mean?
Like always.
Yeah, when
A
in the back,
tailgate lift? A
and it
tailgate
goes
lift?
down, and then you put something on it, and it lifts up, and then you can push it onto the bed.
Yeah,
Okay, a tailgate lift,
Yeah.
okay, I just wasn't sure what you meant.
That actually moves up and down.
so does every position need a truck though, I guess? Like, do we have a truck that could move to Alex and then place another new vehicle with something that doesn't have to be a $40,000, $60,000 truck because they just need to get around?
I don't think I should answer that, I think the
Okay.
staff should.
Okay,
Do they have
that's
an
fair,
extra truck?
that's fair.
I mean,
They
you don't-
double
you don't
up,
need- You don't
they
need a
double
bigger
up.
truck.
No, what I'm saying is if one guy can get by with, and I'm just gonna throw it out, like a Honda Civic, you know what I mean? That's only
Right.
gonna cost us $14,000 instead of, because all he needs to do is get around town, get
Yes.
to the store, get
Like
to
we
this
had the
place. He doesn't need to
Explorer.
haul anything, it doesn't need to be a snow vehicle, you know what I
got you,
mean?
I got you.
It makes me wish we kept that Ford what did we have, Escape or
The
something?
little Escape that we
Yeah,
had.
I wish we
Yeah.
hadn't sold that because I would've just been like, no, just take that and,
Yeah,
you know. But that's what I'm thinking, but you're right, that's probably more a question for.
And good for training, when they have to drive to training, which isn't.
Right, that, you
a
know,
lot,
again,
but yeah,
better
most
on
of
gas,
the
better,
training
if it doesn't need to
is
haul
training.
stuff, if we can get away with something,
right.
they just need a
A
vehicle.
sedan.
Right, yeah, or whatever it is, you know, something less expensive, so that's something to talk to them about, I guess,
Personal
I can.
SUV.
Yeah, so check
So
with
that they
them
have
and
room
see
for
their.
two.
Yeah, I'll talk to Scott about it.
Yeah,
I'm curious about what items will not pass inspection, and do we have a price quote of what it would cost to repair those items so that it would pass inspection?
what year is that
Well,
truck?
my understanding is that the bed and everything is all
Rusted out.
So you're talking tens of thousands
Major,
of dollars.
yeah.
Yes,
It's
because
not
you do a
worth,
full replace on that, you're not gonna patch it.
if they,
Yeah, if it's been driving around for however long, with salt and all
Yeah.
winter and stuff, it
It's a
probably
pretty
is
old-
pretty.
And trucks in general are very prone to that,
Yeah.
as we know.
it'll be more expensive and
Yeah.
they thought it out before even saying it won't pass.
I will say the guys typically aren't looking just to get fancy stuff.
Correct, I was
Like
just
that, you
gonna
know
It
what I mean?
has-
Yeah.
You're
It has
accurate.
no power windows, it has no
Right.
air conditioning, and it was brand new when it was purchased, so they
Yeah.
got the bare bones when they did purchase it.
And do you know what year it is? I'm just curious.
I can look it up if you want me to go
No,
check.
no, don't
No,
waste your
no.
time now.
For some reason, 2006 sticks in my head.
It's old, yeah.
I have the
Don't quote me on
schedule
that, but-
of all of our items, let me see.
For some reason, that sticks in my head.
And I mean, you know, even if we do end up running around, so they do need just another truck because they may need it for snow or they may, whatever it is. We could also look into talking to like Fleetwood and Kutztown to see if they've got something that they're gonna, or Long Swamp, you know what I mean? See if there's something that they're gonna upgrade that's in better condition than what we have.
Good idea.
Well, I think that's why
We
they
can
were
get on
looking
the cheap
this.
and buy us another 6-7 years before we really need to invest in something new, you know, or.
It's a good idea,
I
right?
think it's a
Budget time, so.
2004 Ford.
Wow,
It's
I was close.
yeah, I knew it was old,
I knew it
but
was
I
out
didn't
there.
realize it was out.
Yeah, I knew it was
Right.
out there.
And how much do we sell the truck for that we just sold? Is that 6,000, 9,000?
Oh,
Ford Escape?
The Escape, no,
Yeah.
it was considerably more than that.
Was it?
Yeah.
We can ask Mr. Zimmerman for
Like
that.
14 or something,
I thought
13
it
or
was,
14?
I thought it was 15, 20.
We got a decent amount for that.
Yeah, we
I
did
thought
get
it was
a decent
like
amount for it, I forget what it was,
15,000,
but,
something
um,
out there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Alright. The chlorine contact tank, which we have out for the grants. Hopefully if we get it, it's just $7,400, so that shouldn't be too big a deal. And then the Washington Street pump station, which we already had.
that's already approved, right?
Yes,
That just got pushed to next year because of
Yes.
permitting from
DEP,
DEP,
yeah,
correct.
okay.
Yes, so there was already monies in the 2023 budget for the pump station of $150,000.
Okay,
So hopefully, all that money will still be there at the end of this year, and then we'll just roll over to next year, but we'll see.
or if we don't get the grant for the chlorine tank, that if we do get the grant for Washington, you know what I mean? Like, if everything goes well with Washington Street, we should probably take at least some of that 150 and put it to the chlorine tank, even if we don't get the.
Yeah, put it in a deposit account or
Yeah,
something.
yeah.
And do it next year when we have the full amount or something.
So, we're pretty good on the sewer side of things. I thought I'd start with a smaller one. At the moment, knock on wood again. So then on the water side of things, we have the backup well, which obviously is a must, because it's already going. And that money does not include any part of actually putting in the well.
That's just to determine,
Investigating, that's investigating.
to determine if
That's the,
This
that's
is just the
the,
initial planning.
well,
stage,
the 100,000 was the initial planning, the 60 is, if I remember correctly, it has to do with, that's assuming we're approved, us actually doing all the permitting and all the other stuff we have to do before we actually build it. So this is assuming that we get the green light to actually go forward, but without actually building it.
right.
You know, because doing this stuff, everything's if this happens, if that happens, if this, you know, so.
So I mean,
That 160 is if we get all the way up to the point of building it.
Right.
Without the cost to build it, because the
Right.
hope is that we will get at least some grant money to help build it, but.
get Aqua to come do it.
So do you wanna just line item it for the water fund, and then we can talk about what we're gonna do to pay for it all? Or how we're going to address that, cause that is a whole nother that we can get into, but anyway. So we have that is a must, obviously, cause we've
Yeah.
already started it. We have Keller Street, which is kinda sitting there in no man's land right now since we did not get the grant. We have Barclay Street, which we have not gotten the results of the grant yet, so that's a big question mark. But again, that one probably will not happen if we don't get grant funding this year.
No, I mean, I don't
This
think
year,
any one
at
of them
least.
will, you know?
No, same thing for Franklin. The other one was the water plant turbidity meters. So Scott said they're still functioning right now, but they're expecting to not be able to get parts soon. It's one of
But it's
those,
just old.
it's,
Not supported
it depends on
by-
your version of old. I mean, they're,
What were you gonna say? Not supported by
Not
what?
supported by the vendor that we
Right.
use now.
Okay.
Is there another vendor?
Oh, God.
But if you're.
I'm gonna guess that's a big pain in the butt to do, because everybody got all quiet and chuckled.
I was just gonna say, if
I
you,
mean, I could ask that question, but we also can buy, one on the shelf from Kutztown, but it's best to buy all 5 at the same time, all kind of the same generation of meters.
my understanding is this is not necessarily urgent, but it
No.
will be something that will come up in the next 1-2 years. So this was just a, hey, this is coming.
Okay.
well,
kind of
that's
thing.
good to know though, because.
Which is
So-
why it made the list.
So, would it be smart then to just start dogging or, you know, tagging a little bit of money each year and trying to put it away? So that if we can hold this off for 3 years and we end up having 3/4 of the money in the bank, then that year's
Yeah.
hit isn't as big as, oh crap, we have to buy them all now. And
So, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna go on to the next one, if you have something for that, go ahead.
Well, no, I was just gonna ask because, you know, this whole grant stuff, you never know what can be applicable, what can't be applicable. Is there any kind of grant for anything like that?
It depends on the price. I mean, the
Oh.
chlorine tank was less expensive because we're rehabbing it instead of replacing it, and that's what they thought would be a better grant application. This might be too low.
Okay, and that's what I didn't, yeah.
it
I
also
kinda-
falls into, you'd have to figure out where the
Maintenance.
grants are coming from, because we're
Yeah.
already asking those people for the money for something
Exactly.
else, we can't ask them for this
Yeah.
too yet.
That's
you know.
why I didn't know. well, the whole, you know, infrastructure, they've got millions and billions of money they wanna give away, but yet nobody
They're,
can get it.
yeah, postponing their meetings.
Seriously.
you know,
Oh, no,
I
From
get
August to November.
Yeah,
Yes.
I get
We yelled at
tired,
the county commissioners about that exact thing.
I get tired of hearing it, they have all this money, well then give it to people who want it, hello, just give it.
Well,
We can-
the official statement, I believe, on that is that they funneled it into a pre-existing program. So the programs you know and love are the ones you should turn back to, they just have more money now.
Did they tell us why we didn't get the grant for the Keller Street water line?
Yeah,
we
you don't
don't
typically
know.
get much of a
Yeah, we don't get an
reasoning for it, they
explanation,
just
we
kind of
just
say
got
you're
a,
denied.
these were the ones awarded this round, that's.
Oh, yeah, you don't even really get, you just
No.
don't see your name on the list.
Yeah, pretty much,
Ambulances like that too.
yeah, you didn't get picked.
Right.
Is there another grant we could apply for that? That's a big chunk of money.
What we're doing is for the existing ones that got turned down, we're putting them back in.
Yeah.
And that's a question on the application, did you already submit this for consideration?
They expected, PennDOT had similar responses when I talked to them about grants for roadways and stuff. If you didn't get it the first round, just resubmit.
Yeah.
Just keep resubmitting.
Mhm.
The more times your project crosses their desk, you better, you know. And it stinks because, well, I mean, Barry Ice is pretty good about writing these things for us for free, so that it's not really
Yeah.
costing us money to simply
Keep
submit the
submitting.
grant, but it is a pain in the ass.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And then last is the SWPP lead pipe connections, which has an unknown number because we don't know the number of connections yet. So it'd be very hard to guesstimate, but
Yeah. The way that whole project is going too, they keep getting looser and looser on what, you know, it was
When it was
originally like, you guys, this is gonna screw up your whole next year.
Yep.
And then they were like, well, never mind, we're not really that serious about it, you know, and I feel like by the time we get down to finding out how many of these things, they're gonna be like, okay, we have to change out like 25% of those, and you have the next 10 years to do it, you know, I'm not too worried about that anymore.
yeah, hopefully that is
Scared the
not.
hell out of the guys.
Well, yeah. How it was presented to them.
But luckily, we haven't tested
Right,
any,
There
you
has
know,
been
we
any-
don't test high for lead to begin
right,
with.
Yeah.
right.
I went, you know, we still have to wait for those guys to, what is it, the 102 water?
120.
120 water,
Close.
to do their, you know, estimation of which ones we should be checking anyway,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah.
And that's what doesn't have to be done, they have to complete that by October next year.
Notification.
You know, so
Right.
if these things go like they typically do, I would imagine we'll hear October next year that they're finally done with it, and right in before the deadline, so that, you know, we're not gonna have to do anything next year with it, I don't think.
Okay, so next we should talk rates. What a cluster that has been. From trying to figure out what exactly the definition is of commercial and industrial, which is about as clear as nothing, to what are other people charging, again, not clear whatsoever. I can tell you what Allentown and Reading charge compared to what we charge, which is not even close, because theirs is straightforward like ours, where it's just a flat rate and a 1,000-gallon surcharge. So I did a 4,000-gallon comparison because that's our minimum. So for commercial for us, for water and sewer at 4,000 gallons is a bill of $151.80 a month. Industrial is $173.94. If you live in Allentown, for the same amount for the same quarter, commercial is $294.41, and industrial is $1,250 per quarter. Now they bill it on a monthly, but I made it equal up to ours. If you are in Reading, your commercial is $478.89, and your industrial is $2,203.30.
Wow.
So how are they factoring, they're just doing a flat rate, like?
They're doing a flat rate and they're doing a per 1,000 gallons, so, basically, majority of their numbers are higher, including their flat rate. Like, an industrial in Allentown, their flat rate is $907.26. Ours is $52. So
Do
they're
we-
just, they're significantly higher. But
Yeah.
for most places, like I tried looking at like Kutztown and a little bit more local places, they use this number called the EDU. And what a complicated mess that is, because it takes into consideration average water usages and all these a little more complex calculations. So it's hard to even put a number to it unless you know what number they're using for the EDU, which you can't know without seeing their water stuff, you know what I mean? Like they charge a flat fee and they charge a per 1,000 gallon fee, but they also charge an EDU fee, which is, it takes into consideration the average of an entire previous year times a specific number that gives them this other number. But unless you know what the average is, you know what I mean? You
And that's
can't
not something
compare
that's
them.
like standardized. You'd think there'd be like a regulation on that,
Well,
you know.
well, Stacy asked about it and we did get some information, but it's still like, some of them use census numbers, some of them use metered average water usage within the last 5 years over 12 consecutive months. Some of them require sewage studies, like we would pay Gary Isett $50,000 to tell us what we should be charging. Like, you know what I mean? Like you end up
I
going
get
down
you.
that rabbit hole, and it probably makes sense for us to keep it simple. Like,
So,
we
and
have
there's
it-
no way we can understand why Allentown and Reading, or how they're justifying those rates, or is it just completely arbitrary?
They
That you
probably
know.
had to do an ordinance, and it's probably backup documentation to the ordinance.
Mhm.
Like how we set our minimums for
Mhm.
water and sewer, you needed an engineer to do the study to come up with the numbers, so you're not price gouging.
Right.
Because the minimum covers your bricks and mortar, your delivery costs,
Okay.
not just the water usage.
Yeah.
So you can call them up and ask, or, I don't know if you.
I think that's why, yeah,
They're
that's
so
why maybe
big.
we're not gonna have any way of knowing what number they're using or why
Yeah.
they did it that way.
So we have right now, we have 12 accounts that are under industrial, and we have 51 accounts that are under commercial. A lot of the industrial are redundant accounts with the same company, so it's really only like maybe 5.
Right.
With multiple accounts, and then you have the 51 commercials. So, I did a little bit of calculation, and for industrial, just with the flat for the water and the sewer is about $7,200 a year, just the flat for water and sewer for industrial. And then for commercial, it's about 31,000 that we bring in just from the flat. But trying to, I mean, like, just for instance, I have too much paper in front of me. So in 2017, when they did one of their increases, they did definitions for residential, commercial, and industrial. So like the definition for industrial means any user that discharges processed wastewater into a sanitary sewer system. That's kind of a generic, you know, and commercial is any non-residential user which introduces primary domestic sewage or treated groundwater into the sanitary sewer system and which is not classified as an industrial user. Well, what happens when you have a commercial unit downstairs and 2 residential units upstairs? Then what are they? You know, right now, it looks
Didn't we go on a
like,
map of how everything was, I know you weren't here, I'm trying to think, didn't we?
That's what I was, in my head was going to, so that's probably what was done. I wasn't here.
I was not on council, I was in audience, and I'm trying to think if that's,
I'm gonna guess it's
I'm
typically
gonna
the
guess
zoning
that's
map
what we did too,
would be
because
how,
that was only fair, you can't call someone something if they're, you know what I mean? I think that's how we did it.
well, we believe what is happening is that they're being classified based on the size of the meter, with residential being 5/8 inch, commercial being anything
Bigger than an inch.
bigger than an inch and less than 6 inches. And industrial being anything 6 inches or larger.
Okay. I wonder if everything
With
coincides.
exceptions, some of the 3, 4, 5, 6.
I wonder if it all equals out, looking at that map and that.
I mean, it's probably pretty close, cause I don't think we have too many like.
Right.
vacant
So it should be
properties and
based
stuff.
on meter size? Really?
That's what we do for water, on the water end.
But so that's how we classify them now, we would need to be looking at how do we adjust the rates to fall more in line with what's happening in the rest of.
So right now, for the water flat, it's 52.20 for all three. Residential, commercial, and industrial all pay the same flat rate for water. And the same flat rate, and the same rate for 1,000 gallons. They all pay $7.02 a gallon, regardless of what they are classified as. And then sewer, they're slightly different. Residential is currently $93.60 flat. Commercial and industrial is $99.60, so there's $6 difference. And then every 1,000 gallons for sewer is $12.72 for residential, $13.92 for commercial, and $15.12 for industrial. So.
Do we know how short we are? You know, or how short we're going to be, or we have been for the last 2 years?
We kind of know it by December. It takes
Okay.
that long
Yeah.
because to see how money comes in through the whole year and how we can pay the loan payment for the sewage treatment plant.
Topton Lutheran, that's sewage only, is that right?
That's sewage only, and they pay a flat fee.
Yeah, they're on their own.
That's a different separate contract.
Yeah.
But they pay way more than anybody else.
Well, they, I think, contribute way more than anybody else. Don't have any statistics to back that up, but you look at the number of residents there. I'm not sure how we measure sewage only with no water.
There's a meter, isn't there, on the line that comes down the hill? Flow meter?
It's based on flow and it's calculations that we get from the actual sewage treatment plant.
So they can tell that pipe coming in, and they have a meter that lets them know.
And we do it every quarter. We bill them direct.
But I think there's not a contract, but there's something in writing about what that is. So that's not something we can adjust now anyway.
Right.
We do know how short we were last year, right?
Yes.
And the year before, so.
Yes, I can
So
do that.
if
So
we
adjust
could,
our rates accordingly.
that's what I was gonna say. We're not trying to make money off of any
No,
of
we're
this,
just
but we
trying to
need to
cover
get to
the
a place
costs.
where this is self-sustained,
Yes,
and it's not.
exactly.
And so, the reason Michelle's been looking into this so deeply on how to look at these differences is because I'd really like to minimize the effect this has on the residents, you know? My thoughts on that is, you know, I work somewhere else so that I can live here. They work here so that they can live somewhere else, you know, that's just how it works. Where your business is, you're gonna spend money to do money. And again, the industrial businesses that we're talking about, who are gonna feel the most of this, they all have buildings in other municipalities. They know this isn't the way it works everywhere, you know, so our misunderstanding of how to build water and sewer has led to them getting a pretty cheap rate to be here in Topton for a pretty long time. That's gonna have to stop as we figure it out.
Yeah, when Stacy and I met, Stacy thought maybe we should have a little meeting with them and kind of just do sort of a heads up.
I think that's a good
Apparently
idea.
last
I
time
wanna be good
there was
neighbors.
some questioning, so.
Yeah.
So, that's the other reason why I was trying to get some numbers, so I can be like, you realize if you were here, this is what
Right,
you
yeah,
pay.
yeah, no, I think it's a good idea, and again, you know, we all know the businesses we're talking about, they have facilities in Kutztown, in Fleetwood, and other areas, some of them in all over the country, other states and such, so they know it doesn't work like this everywhere, and but my thought process would be, yes, so,
On their site.
if we can figure out how much we've been short the past few years and get an average idea, obviously, we haven't raised the rates on anybody like that, you know, to make up such a huge difference, and cost has gone up every year, so that should give us a good idea of what we're trying to make up, and then we just gotta figure out how we split that amongst the 3 different designations. Because we do have a way at the moment to classify them by meter size, right? You know, and
Well, that is how they are currently.
yeah, is that working? Or would it?
I mean, looking at them, cause I have the list of the industrial and commercial, I mean, there's a couple of them that like, I don't know the name, so I'm like, I'm not sure what that is, but we talked about some of them and I'm like, oh, okay, that makes sense, you know, and most of them seem legit, or are we missing some here or there that should be moved potentially, but without sitting there going line by line for each one? Well, where's that? Wait, is that commercial or is that, you know?
Right.
I'm sure it's not perfect, but it's.
Well, it seems
It's
to be,
close, I
yeah, okay, alright, so it seems to be working fairly well, and if anybody were to come to us and say, hey, I don't think that's what my business should be classified, we could address it at that point. You know, if they have a problem. I'm not
Depends on the
industrial.
rationale.
Right, I'm not industrial, I'm whatever, why you
All I
charging
do
this rate?
is
Right,
water from the beginning and domestic residential waste in the
Right.
sewer. If they can prove that, that's how
Right.
they could be reclassified.
Do we have any calculation on how much we spend on refurbishing different things within those systems, sewer and water, like pumps we have here, or,
Washington Street.
you know, just things that we have that we can expect that within a year or 2, we're gonna need to spend X amount of dollars, kind of just renovating, you know, upgrading equipment. Can that be, do we have a number for what that cost is?
We started capital planning and discussing capital planning last year, and we fell short because so much needed to be done urgently for the
Sure.
next year. So that would be capital planning, when you take it out 5, 10, 15 years and push things and
I'm
move
just
things
wondering if we have
around.
like a number on, like, is it like, does it cost it 5% more on top of our budget every year? Like, maybe the number we're charging should have built into it a little bit of that.
I
cost
think
moving
that's where we're
forward,
trying to
so
get
that-
to, exactly.
It's not just, so we're flat, so we've got maybe a little.
Part of
bit
the problem
towards-
is that we have a huge lump in sewer, which was necessary at the time to take care of, but now we're stuck with a loan that we're paying between $200,000 and $300,000 a year on. You know, and so it makes it very difficult to be saving up money for things that need to be done. From my understanding of things, the only thing that is relatively urgent is a chlorine contact tank. Alex told me a year ago, you know, a year or 2, like that's what we're looking at, because eventually the concrete degrades and, now all the systems outside of that chlorine contact tank just about are redundant systems. So for every tank that has a pump, there's 2 pumps and 2 tanks, because they can't be down. So, and they have to clean them, and they have to do certain regular maintenance on them. So they have to be able to shut down a tank and still be functioning, because they can't be shut down and not functioning. So the hope is that if you do have a pump go down or something go down, you have that redundant system in place to keep it operating until you can fix, repair, replace whatever it is that needs to be fixed or repaired. The problem is that entire sewage treatment plant is one big moving machine with 5 million parts. I mean, when I walked through there, I was like, good Lord, how do you even keep all this stuff straight? Because there are pumps and there are, you know, chemical dispensers, and there, I mean, everywhere you turn, every door you open, there's, you know, 4 pumps there and 6 containers of chemicals that get dropped in that one, and, you know, I mean, that place could, if you're having a bad year of it, that place could bury us. I mean, it's just fact of the matter, but it's very hard to look at some of that stuff and be like, you know what, in 2 years, we're gonna have to replace that one. And in 5 years, we're gonna have to replace that one. I think it's just, it's hard to know. It's kind of unknowable to a certain extent. You
It's
know?
also stuff we haven't been tracking, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's a tracking,
Yeah.
I think.
Now that we are getting to, I mean,
Yeah,
the silver
hopefully.
lining to all of
Yeah.
these projects, right, is that we'll be able to put it on, that was done this year, expected lifespan of that part of that project is this, that means we need to be, in 5 years, we gotta start planning to start putting away money for it, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, we have, that loan will be paid off in 2026.
Okay.
We make our last payment June of 2026.
What was the initial balance or loan?
No, I have no idea. Couple million?
So every year we're paying how
So it
much?
was over 200-300.
Total per year?
Well, it changes year to year. 2024 will be the principal will be $257,849.65 with an interest payment of $2,338.35. So almost 260,000 of our sewer budget for 2024 will go to that loan.
How much is the interest, Michelle?
2338.35. And that number actually increases every year until the last year. Then it's about half and then we're done.
It's done in 26, right?
Yes. But like 26, our payment is 136,809.20, so it'll come down significantly in 26. So it's really, we gotta get past these next 2 years until we can start actually putting some, hopefully, putting some money away to start having a emergency fund for when things go down or for actually planning out replacing things.
Yeah.
It's
There are
just gonna be,
lines, yeah.
It's just gonna be hard to do in the next 2 years with such a large payment.
So, a few years before I got here, maybe 1 or 2, they did the hammering of all the lines.
Yeah.
So they know where the weakest points are.
And some of these other, I mean, you know, Franklin Street, Barclay Street, these would be things that we could take out a relatively smaller loan and handle the payments on, you know, if we had to get
If
it
we
done.
had
We
to.
wouldn't be so reliant upon needing grants once we get clear of these big things
Yeah.
that are on the books at the moment.
As long as we don't need another big one for something. Hopefully not that
Just
size.
curses, just curses.
So that's where that is.
All right, so in terms of rates, Stacy's gonna look into what
The last
the last few years our deficiencies have been, and hopefully that'll give us a number that we need to reach, and then we can figure out how to break that number down to
What the difference is,
appropriately
yeah.
charge. And again, we may not be getting to 100% in this year of trying to fix it, because I don't wanna just say, oh, well, it's gonna take a 45% hike on every industrial business in town. Sucks to be them, you know what I mean? We may have to slow that down and not meet it this year, but we meet it next year, and then
But we
look
should
at
be
that, it's
able to
2026,
guesstimate.
all of a sudden, now our loan's gone.
We should be able to guesstimate about where this year should end up too, because we'll have 3 quarters in.
Yeah, that's what I mean, you know, and we'll see how it's trending compared to the last few years. Like I said, I'm sure the costs have gone up since,
Yeah.
last year.
But income should have too, because we raised.
We did raise the
10%
rates, yeah.
Across the board, so
All right, good.
hopefully.
Is there anything else for?
I don't know about you, but I'm.
Chew on.
I mean, this stuff will make your head spin.
Yeah,
You start reading this stuff and going, wait, what? How's that work? And you start diving into all the ordinances and stuff, and it'll just,
It's like a rabbit hole.
it really is.
Yeah.
Every time I'm like, yeah, by next time I should have that, and
Right.
no. Then I stumble across something else and I'm like, yeah, no.
Yeah.
Not gonna happen.
all right then. All right, then I guess if that wraps up our discussion on utilities for the evening, move on to committee reports and personnel.
Ethan, I wanted to, before we go to the next item, I wanted to ask, what do we have on the list for the next meeting? Like, you want
Everything else?
Everything else, like,
So Stacy's gonna be presenting the first draft of the budget at the second meeting in October. You know, so, from there, we're basically just trying to tweak that, you know, and again, I think hopefully we build upon this each year and we start a little bit earlier, we get to things a little bit sooner, and we get a better hold of the process, so that, you know, by August, we're already thinking like, oh, this is what I wanna do next year, so I gotta start talking about how much that's gonna cost or how we're gonna do that, you know, but again, we're trying to piecemeal it still, to some extent, we're not perfect, but
is there any way, Stacy, we could get that budget before the meeting to just kind of look at it?
I want to have at least something to plug in the rest of everything into for your October.
Okay.
I wanted to wait till now to get the utility items, cause those are the big ones.
yeah, this was really the biggest thing that we had to discuss, or the most detailed, let me put it that way, the most moving parts, you know,
Yeah.
so even if we don't get to have a specific meeting about any other individual piece of our budget or our planning for next year, I think, you know, this was the one that needed a whole meeting, and you know, some things don't really need much at all, but.
Next meeting, are we doing the executive session for the increases, so we have that before?
That would be good, because Stacy would need to know that, I think it's gonna be a much easier conversation this year,
Should be.
but yeah, that would be good.
So we can put on the agenda for the 9th, I believe it is October 9th? The rest of the budget, including rates, in an executive session, correct?
Sounds good.
What about tax increase? Is there a certain time frame we have to do that? If we're proposing it?
That's all, if you need to go even up to December.
Oh, we can go that far out for that, okay.
When we do that, I'd like to see what the budget is without any increases,
You
and
bet.
then build on that, just so I can get it up.
That's what I tried to do last year.
That's a great way to do
Yeah,
it,
right,
because,
yeah.
Yep, I tried to do even the utilities without an increase last year.
well, heck,
So you
any
can
other
see
way, I
what-
think you're just picking an arbitrary number and working backwards from it, you
Right,
know.
right. Okay, so, for personnel, I wanted to, talk in executive session just about some things that Stacy had mentioned to me, if we could,
Are we doing?
Well, we'd have to push that to the next meeting, right? Or can we?
we're not gonna vote on anything, that's going to be
It doesn't
discussed.
matter.
Oh, so you then have to come out of executive session if you're gonna take any action, but if you want an executive session,
Do you wanna do that at the end, is that what you're?
We can do it right now, I mean.
Well,
we'll have to come
We'll
back
have to
to
go
a hearing
through
of
it.
visitors and
Okay.
well, yeah, I mean, what I'm saying is we could jump to hearing of visitors.
Right.
Yeah,
if-
right,
if-
switch that.
We're good.
We're good, okay. Alright. So then, alright, I guess we're gonna enter into executive
Just
session.
need to split, right?
Okay, so adjourn to executive
Executive
session.
We made that motion.
53.
I'll make a motion.
There you go.
So, and then Monica, did you second it?
I will.
Okay.
Sure she did.
Time day.
We wanna know if you're coming back afterwards?
We are, but just to adjourn.
No actions?
Right.
Yeah, we won't take any action tonight, it's just a discussion.
You can hang out, come back, and then say ciao and be. I'm good with this, correct? Off?
Yes.